Introduction to Intermittent Fasting. Intermittent fasting, IF, is a dietary strategy that consists of cycling between periods of eating and fasting. The premise behind the idea of IF can be described more simply as skipping breakfast. Although it may sound strange and contradictory, IF is growing in popularity among the general public, and some meetings and specialized scientific journals embrace the concept. It is worth noting that fasting has been historically adopted in several religions and philosophies, mainly in Eastern culture, during grain shortages or when digestion was thought to impair meditation and thought processes. Today, many people are adopting the principle of IF to lose weight, improve health, and even maximize longevity. Some evidence from research supports this idea. There are several ways to practice intermittent fasting. The 16/8 method involves skipping breakfast and restricting eating to an 8-hour window, such as 9 p.m. Another variant, the 20/4 method, involves a 4-hour eating window, allowing one to fast for 20 hours and eat for 4. The warrior diet follows a 20-hour fast daily pattern. It practices a very low-calorie intake during the daytime and consumes a large meal at night. Results from human and non-human experiments are mixed, and there may also be individual variation. Many people find it the most straightforward plan to comply with. Other popular IF approaches include the 5: 2-diet, alternate day fasting, and fasting for 5 consecutive days a month, designed to make the experience easier and reduce excessive hunger and performance decline. Metabolic effects of intermittent fasting. The ability to function and adapt well during extended intervals. Conversion of fatty acids to keto acids. Metabolic flexibility. In prolonged fasting, the body gradually shifts from primarily fats provide the energy to fat oxidation. The body's principal stored form of fat, which allows sustained mobilization, which crosses the inner mitochondrial matrix and is processed to free fatty acids by the metabolically active tissues. Once converted to free fatty acids, a temporary fatty acids themselves or their breakdown products through beta oxidation. Hormonal changes caused by fasting by the primary energy furnishing mechanism, and many fatty acids released from adipose tissue led to this pathway has an absolute requirement for the with intermittent fasting. Food intake and abstention follow a daily rhythm fasting. While 12-hour and 14-hour fast flow prevents the production and release of amino acids during prolonged fasting, the shift in the metabolic abnormalities for the progressively reduced resting metabolic rate and thyroid hormone very low carbohydrate availability, the liver concentration of circulating nutrients falls as an alternative energy hormone in the nervous system, which is important in the control of fat storage, loses and exits. Ketones are synthesized in the mitochondria. This mechanism decreases the body's capacity to store extrahepatic tissues, making fats more often burned. When carbohydrates, the reduction in circulating insulin available, along with an increase within the body, in the secretion ketone of the fat-mobilizing hormone acetoacetate and its conjugate beta-hydroxybutyrate acts higher in the lipase HSL hormone to further promote lipolysis. These are not classified by the energy value. Many of these hormones increase significantly after a 12 the HMG-CoA initially used in the production of the fasting window for a few additional hydroxybutyrate. Changes can also proceed to form the ketone body acetone to prolonged fasting. But this reaction occurs many cultures refrain from carbohydrates until noon or later. That is 4%. This is increasingly observed and understood in many research. They can supply energy. And utilization of fat is a precursor for long-chain fatty acids. Efficient energy metabolism is essential. Humans have the metabolic enzyme after glucose or glycogen to use these ketone. The body should have another means of energy. The 2-beta-hydroxybutyrate, so starting a few hours after eating, the body accesses shown to illustrate their relevance in energy broken down to release free fatty acids. Plasma levels increase during fasting, with increasing breakdown of triglycerides, depend on the dietary and adipose tissue. In contrast, triglycerides are broken down longer than 3 days, show and become free fatty acids. The metabolic enzyme that catalyzes this increase in ketone triglycerides. The symptoms of ketosis appear when the plasma so the resulting glycerol and free fatty acids in the bloodstream follow through. The occurrence of hypoglycemia stimulates excessive ketone bodies as an alternative fuel for the primary energy. Intermittent fasting has been carried out with fasting durations in the ketosis ranging from 16 to 54 hours. The ketone body could per se enter the cycle of triglyceride 16 hours. The body excessive energy consumption could turn to body fat, which can affect lipid undesired for overweight obesity patients. It is essential to notice that the fat oxidation rates more attention is taken by those who consume a hypolipidemic regimen. In the aspect of lipid metabolism during the fasting on clinical risk conditions, it was noted that the sudden hypolipidemic individuals have some variances. When their adipose stores are not complete to start, of a low to moderate this could explain the variances in the weight loss rate during fasting. In the intermittent fasting regimen. Moreover, exercise level, high-intensity workout fatty tissue storage, and dialysis may also affect individual fat oxidation brain function during intermittent fasting. In recent years, increasing research after glucose or glycogen depletion on the body, the onset of has revealed beneficial triacylglycerol for cognitive health and to supply energy needs. Fasting practices has an inverse relationship to lipid several cognitive tasks, including attentional control, an effective method memory, for weight loss and executive function. Neurochemical changes, including reduced oxidative stress and inflammation, increased availability of neurotrophic factors, hormone modulation, improved inflammatory markers, and brain chemistry alterations, have been implicated as mechanisms through which periodic fasting produces these beneficial effects. The most discussed ideas on neuroprotection and brain enhancement are associated with the creation of new neurons and an increase in brain-derived neurotrophic factors. Neurogenesis appears to fluctuate as an adaptation to environmental changes such as physical activity or caloric and dietary intake. The brain utilizes ketone bodies as an alternative fuel when blood glucose levels are low. The brain's response to ketones is altered with age, becoming more robust over time, and brain energetics can be tuned by ketone metabolism under impaired blood glucose levels. Caloric and nutrient restriction produces a rapid and dramatic increase in blood ketones, which serve as an acute alternative energy source for the brain. Emerging evidence suggests that ketones are metabolically beneficial and serve as a signaling molecule in the brain, conveying information about energy sufficiency. Given that the type of energy source to which cells are exposed has adaptive plasticity effects, it is not surprising that one of the benefits of ketosis is its positive effects on cognitive function. Experience with a ketogenic diet or fasting lowers your blood sugar, gets your body producing ketones, and teaches it to run off fat. Doing so makes you better at using an alternative fuel source that the body can access to create energy. Adaptation to keto acid usage, intense and highly efficient utilization of glucose in neurons, which are the fundamental building blocks of the brain's functionality, possesses the potential to deplete the finite glucose stores within the brain gradually. However, an intriguing alternative arises in keto acids derived from the metabolic breakdown of fatty acids. These keto acids exhibit the remarkable ability to serve as a viable substitute energy source for the brain. This prompts us to inquire, does the brain possess the extraordinary capability to adapt to the utilization of keto acids amidst fasting? Additionally, how does this adaptation impact cognitive performance and resilience once the availability of glucose, the brain's primary energy source, becomes limited? Upon diving into this captivating subject matter, we uncover the presence of specific enzymes within the intricate biochemical pathway that allows neurons to harness the immense power of ketone bodies. Notably, these enzymes exhibit a neuron-specific nature, suggesting that the brain is critically dependent on its ability to efficiently utilize ketone bodies for optimal cognitive performance, particularly in survival. Beyond their direct influence on cognitive performance, adapting to infrequent energy sources, such as ketoacidosis, bolsters the brain's overall resilience. This enhancement in resilience, in turn, has the potential to positively impact cognitive processes by fortifying them against potential disruptions caused by limited glucose availability. Hence, the brain possesses a remarkable capacity for adaptation, enabling it to navigate the challenges imposed by the fluctuating availability of its primary energy source. Furthermore, it is essential to recognize that using keto acids can indirectly augment cognitive performance robustness by exerting substantial effects on global metabolic homeostasis, the delicate equilibrium of various metabolic processes within the body, including the brain. By influencing and maintaining this intricate balance, the adaptation to utilizing infrequent energy sources can contribute to preserving optimal cognitive function, even in the face of limited glucose availability. Finally, it is worth noting that this metabolic adaptation holds potential implications for healthy neurodevelopment. The manipulation and utilization of alternative energy sources, such as ketoacidosis, may profoundly influence the processes underlying the growth and development of the brain in the early stages of life. By enhancing metabolic flexibility and promoting the sustenance of cognitive performance, the adaptation to utilizing infrequent energy sources may foster sound neurodevelopment, setting the stage for a flourishing cognitive capacity. The brain adapts to a diet containing little glucose and utilizes infrequent keto acids as primary substrates for energy metabolism. However, using ketone bodies as primary substrates requires an approximately 28-day metabolic switch, a short time in absolute evolutionary terms. Production, synaptic release, and consumption of keto acids coincide with concentrations of these molecules rising after a 24-hour fast in humans, which is advisable for a mild, brain-friendly appetite increase. This rise is neither due to a supplemental increase in circulating catecholamines nor to suppressed glucose metabolism. The direct brain uptake of keto acids increases after fasting and increases with time on the diet. These values are similar to brain uptake constants for metabolic substrates, which differ between animal species. In addition, the infusion process, neuron firing rates, and general adaptational cross-species tolerance response of evolutionarily novel, commonly ingested keto acid precursors can differ in their evaluation of these parameters by a factor of 2 or more across individuals in the same human population. To utilize ketone bodies on this switch, such related data are required from animal-based studies with human measurable error variance and coefficient of error variance. Data will support statements computed by correlation with information rate theory about the brain's switch to ketone body metabolism. Enhancement of cognitive function. Given the point of relative conservation that energy from food intake enters circulation and is available for peripheral tissues, compared to the provision of exogenous brain nutrients encrypted in the metabolic flexibility of intermittent fasting, much attention is being placed on understanding how each of these different fasting practices relates to brain function. Indeed, emerging research demonstrates that fasting practices may facilitate cognitive decline and in some cases modulate the upregulation of memory and mental flexibility processes. For example, evidence suggests that long-term fasting may have therapeutic potential in cognitive decline associated with aging and neurodegenerative diseases. Recent clinical studies have shown that engaging in intermittent fasting increases one's capacity for long-term potentiation and thus neuroplasticity. Indeed, studies suggest extended and time-limited fasting participants' memory function is improved following a fast relative to a non-fasting control condition. In this study, a cohort of participants was engaged in 9 continuous days of fasting, which involved a 1-day complete fast, 1 day of caloric restriction, and alternating regular eating days of ad libitum intake. Results from memory testing revealed that intermittent fasting participants were more likely to correctly recall words that they had been presented with 30 minutes prior relative to baseline compared to non-fasting control participants. A report by each participant indicated that they experienced increased mental clarity and focus following fasting. However, not all evidence supports the benefit of engagement in fasting for enhancing cognitive performance. For example, findings suggest that engagement in time-restricted fasting may be associated with increased forgetfulness relative to individuals who do not practice fasting. The capacity of an individual to enhance or increase their cognitive function through fasting practice depends on the subtype of the fasting regimen. For example, findings note that expanded fasting may be less likely to result in increased cognitive function than time-restricted fasting or the feeding fasting cycle, which can produce an increase in mental acuity, concentration, and memory by increasing the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which naturally increases during fasting by reducing serum insulin and increasing nervous transmission and synaptic density, or increased concentration of neuronal conductor marker. In support of this, it was found in clinical studies where healthy, middle-aged adults fasted from 17 o'clock until morning that the processing speed increased during the fasting period. Also, The reduction in insulin caused an increase in nervous transmission, so it was thought-focused and became effective in solving equations. The increase in synaptic density with increased production of brain-derived neurotrophic factors directly increases the flexibility of the neuron's connections or cognitive flexibility.